Joining us is now the distinguished governor of the state of New Jersey, and this is a bold prediction that we made a long time ago that he would be a candidate for president of the United States. Joining us now, Governor Chris Christie. Governor, good morning, sir.
Good morning, Harry. How are you today?
Oh, my goodness. If I were doing any better, I couldn't stand it. As you know, our daughter was married yesterday, and so that's, as you know, blessed event. And we've just been following everything that you've been doing. And in terms of getting started for something this big, I think you have to be very pleased with the initial rollout. Tell us your thoughts about the beginning of your campaign for president.
Well, Harry, first off, congratulations on the wedding. What an amazing thing with a daughter myself who's now 19 years old. I don't know whether I'm looking forward to the moment or not, but I know once it gets here, it's got to be an amazing thing. So congratulations to you and your family, and on Harry Hurley Way, by the way.
Oh, thank you for noticing, sir.
Very good. I don't have any streets named after me, Harry, so you're ahead of me on that one.
Well, we'll get to work on that. We'll get to work on that. When you're president, there'll be buildings and schools and everything. So this...
The rollout so far has been great, Harry. I mean, first off, going back to your old high school in front of, 1,500 of your friends and supporters was an amazing moment for me and Mary Pat and the children. And we went immediately to New Hampshire, and we did 16 events over 4 days, 3 different town hall meetings, and lots of other meetings with voters. And the reaction up there has been really good, and we're just going to keep working, Harry. There's no way to win the presidency without incredibly hard work and communicating directly to voters. That's what we're doing, and we feel pretty good.
Governor, I watched you very closely the day that you announced, and your lovely wife, Mary Pat, next to you, all of your children there. Was that a bit of a surreal moment because this was a very familiar setting? You're, I think, the best, and even people running against you say how well you do with your sort of theater in the round, and, when you're with the people, unscripted, everybody else was reading from speeches and teleprompters, and here you are, just speaking from your heart. You know who you are, and as you say, you know what you believe, and you believe what you say, and all of that. Was it a little surreal, though, when the words come out of your mouth that you're announcing your candidacy for president of the United States?
Yeah, it is, Harry, and especially because there's been so much conversation about this possibility for 5 years now. And the conversation really started after we finished our first budget in 2010. And so having heard about this and have so much intense speculation over the years, to finally be at the moment was definitely a bit surreal. But having it where I had it, with my wife and my children in the place where I went to high school, helped to make it a little more real for me.
When you started out, and you don't get that second chance to make a first impression. And I think, as you say, in your case, it's even more important because there was so much anticipation. People I think nearly begged you to run last time, and you made the extraordinary decision that it wasn't your time just yet. Was this exciting to get into this?
Oh, yeah, it's very exciting. Listen, to have the honor and the privilege of getting a chance to run for president of the United States is an amazing thing. And I'm incredibly excited about it, as is the rest of the family. And, Andrew and Sarah, our 2 oldest, were on a campaign trail with us in New Hampshire on Thursday and Friday and Saturday. They're very enthusiastic about it. And as a family, it's an extraordinary thing.
Governor Christie, I love, I'm sure it's you, but, whoever came up with it, this concept of Christie 2016 telling it like it is. Because I think we're living in a world where people are sort of trying to tell it like it isn't. So here you are. You're not afraid to give the medicine, to say what needs to be said, to even tackle some of these things that everybody who is twisted in pretzels and knots because they're poll tested and they got to make sure that 50% plus one half human breathing can make them over the top. And here you are saying straight talk.
Well, listen, Harry, going all the way back to the time I was U.S. Attorney, I've never minced words. And that's why, when the campaign staff came to me with the idea of, having the slogan be telling it like it is, it made perfect sense to me because that's who we are and who we've been for the last 13 years in public life in New Jersey, and privately who I've been my whole life. It's funny, I was last night, Harry, reading a letter that my mom wrote to me a couple of weeks after I was sworn in as U.S. Attorney. And one of the lines she put in the letter to me was, "You are honest and straightforward," and then she put in parentheses, "almost to a fault." And I hadn't read that letter in a long time. And that's the way she raised me. That's who I am. And so having the slogan be that way seemed to be perfectly appropriate.
Here's one that's going to sound like it's gratuitous, but it's not, and you know me. I'm not saying it just to be kind. I think we need a governor to be the next president. Senators do not make very good presidents. I think we have a track record of that. Maybe there's a rare exception here and there, but someone who has been a chief executive. I think you'll agree with this also, Governor Christie. There's really no preparation. When you're the president, you take on such an awesome role as leader of the free world. So if you cannot have the exact perfect proving ground, then let it be the best that we have. And to me, that's a governor that heads up state, that is a mini president, if you will. Your thoughts about that?
I agree completely, and I agree with that even if I'm not the nominee, Harry. I'm running hard, and I intend to be the nominee, but even if I'm not, I really think it needs to be someone with executive experience. The thing I point to all the time, Harry, is Hurricane Sandy. When you're sitting around a table and your entire cabinet gives you the awful news about all the destruction that's gone on in our state as it happened in October of 2012, and then they all stop talking and look to you and say, "Now what do we do, Governor?" There's no manual that can teach you how to do that. There's no new governor school that can teach you how to do that. You either are a leader or you're not. And I think more than anything else in my governorship, the thing that's prepared me most to be president is the response and recovery from Hurricane Sandy. And it's because under an enormous amount of pressure and stress, you have to be able to make decisions and move on and know that every one of those decisions aren't going to be perfect, but that you have to make them and put them in the rearview mirror. And I think that's great training for the presidency. We
have Governor Christie for just a few more minutes. Let me ask you what the process is like in your case, because you set records supporting other candidates and raising incredible money to elect Republicans all over the country. So I think you come with such a sort of pre-qualified sort of cred insofar as you met a lot of people along the way. And it wasn't you asking for yourself then. You were asking for the party. You were asking for other candidates that you were supporting. How much did that help you in terms of bridging what you need to have a national organization?
Well, listen, it always helps you make friendships around the country and develop relationships that are really helpful. But it's all different, Harry. Every campaign is different. And it's much different when you're out there asking for yourself than when you're asking for someone else. I always find it much easier to be asking for someone else. Asking for yourself, I think, is harder. And it's something that you need to get used to. And I got used to that certainly in the gubernatorial races, but now it's at a totally new level. Good news is you saw already that we're the first person to be endorsed by a sitting governor. Governor Paul LePage of Maine endorsed us just last week. And so we're happy to get off and running with an endorsement of a sitting Republican governor who's strong and no nonsense himself. And I think those relationships that I've developed over time, especially with the governors, will be helpful in the race for president.
Governor Christie, how challenging, how important, I guess it's very important, the early states, because you can both, really make your mark in a hurry, or people start saying, wow, if you don't do well in New Hampshire and then on to the next one and on to South Carolina, how challenging, how important are these first few states?
Incredibly important, Harry, especially in a field as crowded as ours is going to be. People are going to be looking for ways to differentiate. The debates will be one of those ways to differentiate. The way you retail campaign will be another way to differentiate. But then ultimately it's when people start to cast votes in Iowa, New Hampshire, and South Carolina. I think the field will probably, by the time you get done with the first month, which also includes Nevada, I think the field will probably be winnowed by 2/3.
You've been picking up some key endorsements in New Hampshire, whether it's Dan Toohey or Bernie Streeter, Tom, some of the other ones. How big are those early endorsements from people that live there that they're saying Chris Christie is the guy? I would imagine that's a big deal, isn't it?
Incredibly important. Listen, Bernie Streeter has been in New Hampshire politics for over 40 years. He was a member of the executive branch for over 30. and then the mayor of Nashua, a key town in New Hampshire. Wayne McDonald, who's our state chairman for the Christie for President campaign, is a former state Republican chairman in New Hampshire and a very well-respected guy. Tom Colantuno is a former U.S. attorney who I served with and a leading conservative activist in New Hampshire. And the reason it's important is not just names on a piece of paper, Harry. In New Hampshire, essentially the Republican primary is like trying to win the Republican nomination for governor here in New Jersey. You have to get down to that level of the grassroots, build an organization, and that's the way you win. And that's what we're doing in New Hampshire. You saw us do it in New Jersey 6 years ago, and we're following the exact same plan in New Hampshire.
Governor, you're basically 4 weeks away from this Fox News debate. I've gone back and forth whether this top 10 thing is right because, look, everybody has the right to run, and how do you knock out people because of early polls that may mean nothing. I was on a panel that was moderated by Jim Engel, and I went on record, Governor, that you will be in that August 6th debate in Ohio. Do you plan on being there?
Oh, absolutely. We plan on being there. And you know, Harry, it's one of our strong suits, getting up in front of a group of people, answering questions directly in that kind of format, whether, it was against Steve Lonigan or whether it was against John Corzine and Chris Daggett or Barbara Buono. We've always shown the ability to be able to stand up in a debate and I'd say hold our own or better. And so we're going to try to do exactly the same thing at Quicken Loans Arena in Cleveland on August 6th.
Governor, I'll get you out in 1 minute like I promised. Let me ask you this. In terms of now 14, and soon there's going to be 15, and probably be 16 or maybe even 17, when it's 15 or 17 people running for the nomination, and you've been saying this very, very well. 4 years ago, people complained there weren't enough. Now there's too many. So I know it's like, Goldilocks, too hot, too cold, just right. But this is a little bit different question than that. How do you distinguish yourself in this incredibly crowded field? What makes Governor Chris Christie of New Jersey somebody that should stand out?
Well, first, because people know that I'm willing to take on the tough fights and stand up and be counted. Secondly, they look at what I've done here in New Jersey. I'm battle-tested. I'm combat-ready, Harry, for Washington, D.C., dealing with a Democratic legislature every day over the last nearly 6 years now. People know that not only do I know how to fight, but I know how to compromise and govern as well. That's something, with all due respect to my adversary, to our, governors with Republican legislatures. It's not the same thing. I'd give my left arm for one week with a Republican legislature, what we do in New Jersey. But fact is, I haven't had it. But still, we've gotten teacher tenure reform done, pension and benefit reform, capping property taxes at 2%, 6 balanced budgets, $2.3 billion in business tax cuts, and 198,000 new private sector jobs. So, doing that under the difficult circumstances I've had to do it in New Jersey with the type of economy that I inherited, I think is the best preparation for Washington, D.C.
Last absolute stretch. You're the first governor from New Jersey in 103 years, since Woodrow Wilson in 1912, to run for president. What is it like to be a candidate for president of the United States?
It's incredibly humbling and incredibly exciting.
And let me finish.
To be able to talk, Harry, on the national stage about issues that are so important to our future as a country and the future of the world is a great opportunity. I'm going to make the most of it.
And let me say this in closing, Governor. I couldn't be more proud. Been with you from the beginning. I'm with you to the end. And to the national media and other media, metro market media jackals that tried to convict you of something you never did. And they worked, as you well know, and you don't cry in your milk, but they were vicious. And the fact that you did not let them stop what I think is your destiny, and that is a campaign for the presidency, I could not be more proud of your resolve.
Well, Harry, listen, my resolve comes not only from my mother and father and who they raised me to be, but it also comes from the fact that I have an enormous number of good friends and supporters who know that when I say something, I'm telling them the truth. You're amongst those folks who have been just steadfast, even during the most difficult and dark days. And I believe that this campaign and the success of this campaign will just be a renewal of your confidence in my ability to lead and the fact that our country can recover from the last 7 years of Barack Obama.
I have no doubt, Governor. Let's stay close. Let's stay in touch. And thanks for the time today.
And congratulations again on the great event this weekend for you, your wife, your daughter, the whole family, the new son-in-law. Congratulations. And it must have been a great weekend, Harry. So I'm glad I'm on right after that.
Thank you, Governor. It was, and we'll talk when your time permits.
Thank you.
Thank you, Governor. Governor Chris Christie. We'll be right back.